Everyone knows that cybersecurity is a hot field, but what most people don't realize is just how many different jobs pay over $100,000 a year. And the best part, you do not need a degree or years of IT experience or even to be some kind of genius coder. In this video, I'm going to break down the top 5 cybersecurity careers that pay over 6 figures and explain exactly what they do day to day and why they're in such high demand. So stick around to the end because I'm going to share the one career that's my personal favorite and why companies are literally fighting over candidates who can do it. So number 5 is going to be SOC analyst, or the Security Operations Center analyst. These are basically the first line of defense. You can think of them as first responders or EMTs of cybersecurity. Large companies, they have tons of data flying around them, right? And some of this data could be malicious, right? It could be an attacker trying to breach the company. These different actions that are happening with the data flying around will trigger what we call alerts. And the job of the SOC analyst is to monitor the queue and look at these alerts and determine, is it actually, an attack, a sign of a breach, or is it just some benign thing? That in essence is what a SOC analyst does. And I did an interview with one of my students that I helped get a job in this, Tom, and he has some crazy stories in the SOC. I never worked in the SOC myself, but I almost wish I did, because this is a pretty interesting field. I can tell you guys that. Like, some of the stories that he's told me over the years has been pretty crazy for sure. But one of the major upsides to a SOC analyst role is it's often cited as one of the fastest entry points into cybersecurity, and the salaries can very quickly climb into the 6 figures with a little bit of experience under your belt. And just as an example, Tom in 1 year was able to reach senior level in his SOC at a major US university, and he got his pay bumped up quite considerably from where he started off of that. Number 4 is going to be application security. So almost every single business is running on tons and tons of apps, right? And these apps need to be secure. That's a huge deal. With app security specialists, you're working very closely with the software developers that are actually coding up the apps and making sure that security is baked in at every step in their process. Because the old way of developing was just they would create the app in isolation and then they would submit it to the security team, and then they'd be like, oh my god, this is wildly insecure. They'd have to send it back. So now they're trying to bake it more into the process. So in this role, you're very closely working with these developers. So if you're someone that currently either has a very big interest in programming and like the actual code side of things and security, this is a great field for you. Or if you're someone that's already working in software development and you want to get into cybersecurity, this is a really good branching point to really break into the field and leverage your existing experience to give you a leg up. And as you can imagine, like if you have like these skill sets, if you can combine these high value skill sets of coding and cybersecurity, I mean, that's why the pay is almost always over $100,000 when we're talking about a role like this, especially when these companies are, could potentially lose millions of dollars when their apps are found to be insecure or end up getting breached. Number 3 is going to be identity and access management, or IAM. And IAM is all about making sure the right people have the right access and no one else. That's as simple as I can put it. So in doing that, you're going to be managing authentication systems, permissions, and logins, but at scale. So I know it sounds simple on the surface, but when we're talking about like Fortune 500 companies or even other large companies that have thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of users, it can be a serious challenge. And that is why the IAM experts will consistently pull in 6-figure salaries as well. On to number 2, it will be governance, risk, and compliance, also known as GRC. This one is, it could surprise people, but GRC specialists make sure companies aren't just secure, but also compliant with the laws and regulations. So, cybersecurity is not all this like flashy hacking and crazy technical stuff. It can be technical in a different way, technical from a policy perspective, from a law and regulation perspective. I think that's one misnomer about GRC. People kind of almost hate on it a little bit, saying like, oh, it's non-technical. It is actually a technical role, but it's technical in a different way than some of the other roles in this that I mentioned in this video are. So if you like the idea of cybersecurity, but let's say you lean more on the strategy side, on the frameworks, and business alignment is something you're more interested in, then GRC I think can be a very lucrative path for you. It's still, like I said, less hands-on hacking, but it's still very much just as critical. And number 1, drum roll, is going to be penetration testing, or pen testing. This is my personal bread and butter. I've been doing this for over a decade between multiple Fortune 500 companies, US government, and even freelance contracts. Essentially what pen testing is, or companies are going to pay you to actually act like a hacker and try to break into their systems, and then you show them what could an attacker do they need to go and fix. And the nice part is you show them what they need to fix. They actually, have people they can work with to actually actually implement the fix on their own. So you get to play the kind of adversarial side of trying to do the cool, flashy hacking stuff. So this is something it's the closest to the Hollywood hacking as you would see in the movies, in playing out in real life. But obviously, it's not all amazing all the time. Of course, it is still a job at the end of the day, guys. This one I think is pretty darn good, and that there's a reason why I chose to stay in this career for 10 years, and I turned down management opportunities and everything because I found this area of cybersecurity so exciting. But look, it's not just the excitement. Also, this career pays extremely well because it directly saves companies from million-dollar breaches. On top of that, it's super exciting and in demand and offers a ton of flexibility, including remote work. So with some of the roles, depending on what you do, you might not be able to have as much freedom and flexibility. So one example is on the SOC analyst side. We said number 5 on the list, SOC analyst. The thing about SOC analyst is interesting and exciting of a role as it can be. One of the downsides to that is you're not in control of when the attackers come knocking, right? It's a reactive role. You have to respond to threats, right? You are reactive rather than proactive. With pen testing, because they're paying you to try to hack in proactively, you're on the offense. You are in control of when you work. So you work the 9 to 5 standard hours, and you typically don't have to worry about things like an on-call schedule or a big breach happening. I know, like, for almost all the defensive roles, whenever a big breach happens or a big security issue is released to the public, those folks are working around the clock to secure the environment day and night. Meanwhile, as a pen tester, I'm just chilling. Sometimes I don't even know this stuff's going on unless I'm keeping up with the news. There's been weekends and stuff where, I kind of stepped away from the internet for a while, and I found that my friends on the defensive side were working all through the weekend because like some new hack came out and they had to secure the systems, and I wasn't even brought in because I'm a pen tester. I'm on that side of things. So if you're someone that not only wants a career that pays well and is fun and sexy, but also a career that offers you a lot of personal freedoms and flexibility, I think pen testing, you really can't get any better than that. It is a super remote job as well. There are some exceptions to that. If you are doing like hardware hacking and stuff, that can, in red teaming engagements, some of those can be a little bit more location dependent, where you might have to do some on-site stuff. And some of that stuff can be pretty cool too. Like I remember when I was working at General Motors, the red team would go into the car plants and they would pose as like a fake worker. They'd put on the vest, they'd have the clipboard, they'd walk in and try to social engineer their way in, and they would start planning like Raspberry Pi devices. Like, this is straight out of Mr. Robot, if you guys seen that movie. They put Raspberry Pi devices inside the plant and see if they could start exfiltrating data, start stealing sensitive data from the plant, and see if they would detect it, if they would be able to catch them and stop them before they carried out the wills of the attackers, right? So there are some cool stuff to do on site. So if you're super married to remote, just understand that if you have to work on site with some of these jobs on the offensive side, like, don't fret. It could be quite interesting as well. But yeah, this is one that personally I think is top notch. So there you have it, the top 5 cybersecurity jobs that pay over $100,000. To be honest with you, this is just scratching the surface. There's so many more careers that you could go into in cybersecurity. It's super broad. The key takeaway is this: you don't need a computer science degree or to spend years grinding in IT to break into this field. What you do need is a clear path, hands-on skills, and the right portfolio to prove yourself. And cybersecurity is one of the fastest ways to build a high-income, future-proof career. And if earning $500,000 in a single year with cybersecurity sounds appealing to you, then watch the video on screen right now where I will lay out the exact steps of how you can do just that.